ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भगवती उत्तम श्लोके
उत्तमश्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी।
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी।
So reading from Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 9, titled The Most Confidential Knowledge, and the verse number is 25. Yanti deva vrita devan
Yanti deva vrta devam
pitran yanti pitravratra
yanti pitrvrtaha
bhutani yanti bhuteja
bhutani yanti bhuteja
yanti madyagnino pimam
yanti madhyajino pimam
yanti deva vritam devan
यान्ति
yanti deva vrta devam
pitran yanti pitravrata
yanti pitrvrtaha
bhutani yanti bhuteja
bhutani yanti bhuteja
yanti madyagnino apimam.
yanti madhyajino imam.
Any Prabhuji or Mataji would like to read?
Yanti deva vrta devam
यान्ति
deva vrita deva
yanti pitravrtaha
pitran yanti pitravrata
bhutani yanti bhuteja
bhutani yanti bhuteja
yanti madhyajino pimam
yanti madhyajino apimam.
Yanti deva brata devam
yanti deva
Vrata devan
pitram yanti pitrabrata
pitran yanti
yanti
pitravrtaha
pitravrata
bhutani yanti bhuteja
bhutani
ani yanti bhuteja
yanti mat yajino pimam
yanti madhyajino pimam
madhyajino pimam.
यान्ति देवव्रता देवा
yanti deva
vrta deva
पितॄन् यान्ति पितृव्रताः
pitran
yanti pitravrata
भूतानि यान्ति भूतेज्या
bhutani
ani
yanti
yanti bhuteja
यान्ति मद्याजिनोऽपि माम्
yanti
yanti
madhyajino
pimam.
Yanti deva vrata devan
yanti deva
Deva vrta
devam
devan
pitrun yanti pitru vrataha
pitram yanti
yanti pitravrata
bhutani yanti bhutejya
bhutani yanti
yanti
bhuteja
bhuteja
yanti mad yajino pimam
yanti
yanti
madhyajino
madhyajino pimam.
Yanti devabrata devan.
Yanti deva
Yanti
vrata
deva
devan.
vrita deva.
Pitrun yanti pitruvrataha.
Pitrun
Pitrun
yanti
yanti
pitravrata.
Pitran
pitravrataha.
yanti
Bhutani
pitravrata.
yanti. Bhutani yanti bhutejya.
Bhutani
Bhutani
yanti
Ani
yanti
yanti
bhutejya.
bhuteja.
Yanti madhyajino apimam.
Yanti
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 madhyajino
madhyajino
apimam.
pimam. Word by word meaning. Yanti, go.
Yanti, go.
Go.
Deva vrata,
Deva vrataha.
worshippers of demigods.
Worshipper of demigods.
Demigods.
Devan,
Devan,
Devan.
to the demigods.
To the
to the
demigods.
demigods.
Pitran,
Pitran,
Pitran.
to the ancestors.
To the ancestors.
ancestors.
Yanti,
Yanti.
Yanti,
go.
go.
Pitravrata,
Pitravrataha.
Pitravrata,
worshippers of ancestors.
Worshippers of the
worshippers of
ancestors.
ancestors.
Bhutani,
Bhutani,
to the ghosts and spirits.
To the
to the
ghosts and
ghosts and
spirits.
spirits.
Yanti,
Yanti.
Yanti,
go.
go.
Bhuta ija,
Bhuta
Bhuta
Isha.
Ija,
worshippers of ghosts and spirits.
Worshippers of ghosts
of
and
ghosts
spirits.
and spirits.
Yanti,
Yanti,
Yanti.
go.
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 Mat,
Mat,
Mat.
my.
my.
Yajina,
Yajna,
devotees.
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 Api,
Api,
Api.
but.
but.
Mam,
Mam.
Mam.
unto me.
Unto me.
Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Radha ki jai.
Those who worship the demigods
Those who worship the
The
demigods
demigods
will take birth among the demigods.
Will
will
take
take
birth
birth
among
the
the
among the
demigods.
demigods.
Those who worship the ancestors
Those who
Those who
worship
worship
the
the
ancestors.
ancestors
go to the ancestors.
Go
go
to
to
the
the
ancestors.
ancestors.
Those who worship ghosts and spirits
Those who
Those
worship
who
ghosts
worship
and
ghosts
spirits
and spirits
will take birth among such beings.
will
will
take
take
birth
birth
among
among
such
such
beings.
beings.
And those who worship me
And
Those
those
who
who
worship
worship
me
me
will live with me.
will
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 live with
live
me.
with me.
Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Anybody would like to read this page of the purport?
I will start from
Yes, Prabhupada.
if if one has any desire to go to the moon, the sun, or any other planet, one can attain the desired destination by following specific Vedic principles recommended for that purpose, such as the process technically known as Darsa Paurnamasa. These are vividly described in the fruitive activities portion of the Vedas, which recommends a specific worship of demigods situated on different heavenly planets. Similarly, one can attain the Pita planets by performing a specific yajna. Similarly, one can go to many ghostly planets and become a Jaksha, Rakshasa, or Pisacha. Pisacha worship is called black arts or black magic. There are many men who practice this black art and they think that it is spiritualism, but such activities are completely materialistic. Similarly, a pure devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead only achieves the planets of Vaikuntha and Krishna Loka without a doubt.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anybody else would like to read this page?
It is very easy to understand through this important verse that if by simply worshipping the demigods one can achieve the heavenly planets, or by worshipping the Pitas achieve the Pitas planet, or by practicing the black arts achieve the ghost planets, why can the pure devotees not achieve the planet of Krishna or Vishnu? Unfortunately, many people have no information of this sublime planet where Krishna and Vishnu live, and because they do not know of them, they fall down. Even the impersonalities fall down from the Brahma Jyotir. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore distributing sublime information to the entire human society to the effect that by simply chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one can become perfect in this life and go back home, back to Godhead.
Thank you, Mataji. So let's all chant the invocation prayers together so that we can all be part of it. Om Agyana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya
ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया
Chakshur
चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन
Chakshurmilitam
तस्मै
Yena
श्रीगुरवे
Tasmai
नमः
Sri Gurave Namo Sri Chaitanya Manovistam
श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं
Bhutale
रूप कदा
Swayam
मह्यं
Rupa
ददाति
Kadamaiha Dadati
स्वपदान्तिकं
Swapadantikam
वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो
Vandeham Sri Guru
श्रीयुतपादकमलं
Sri
श्रीभक्ति
Utapatakamalam
वैष्णवंश
Sri Guru
श्रीरूपं
Vaishnavamsha
साग्रजातं
Sri Rupam
सह
Sagrajatam
गणरघुनाथान्वितं
Sagana
तं
Raghunatham
सजीवा
Vitam Tam
साद्वैतं
Sajivam
सावधूतं
Sadvitam
परिजनसहितं
Savadhutam
कृष्णचैतन्य
Parijana Sahitam
देवम्
Krishna Chaitanya
Krishna
Devam
Chaitanya Devam
Sri
Sri
Radha
Radha
Krishna
Krishna
श्रीराधाकृष्णपादं
Padam
Padam
सह
Sahagana
गणललिता
Ragana Lalita Shri
श्रीविशाखान्वितं
Vishakhavitamscha He
हे
He
Krishna
कृष्णा
Krishna
Karuna
करुणा
Karuna
Sindhu
सिन्धु
Sindhu
दीनबन्धो
Dinabandhu
Sindhu
जगत्पते
Dina Bandhu
गोपेश
Jagatpate
गोपिकान्त
Gopesha Gopika
राधाकान्त
Kanta
नमस्तुते
Kanta Namastute
Namaste
Tapta
तप्तकाञ्चन
Kanchana
गौराङ्गी
Gaurangi
राधा
Radhe
वृन्दावनेश्वरी
Vrindavaneshwari
वृषभानुसुते देवी
Vrishabhanusute
प्रणमामि
Pranamami
हरिप्रिये
Hari Priye
वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa
सिन्धुभ्य
Sindhu
एव च
Vaivacha
पतितानां
Patitanam
पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो
Pavanebhyo
नमो नमः
Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namo Jai Shri
जय श्री
Krishna
कृष्ण
Chaitanya
चैतन्य प्रभु
Prabhu
नित्यानंद
Nityananda
श्री
Shri
अद्वैत
Advaita
गदाधर
Gadadhar
श्रीवासादि
Adi
गौर
Gaur
भक्तवृंद
Bhakta
हरे
Hare
कृष्णा कृष्णा
Krishna
कृष्ण हरे
Krishna
हरे
Hare 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 Rama
राम राम हरे हरे
Hare Hare. So thank you so much for joining this wonderful Sangha where we discussed Bhagavad Gita every Saturday evening. So, so as you can see, this is Krishna speaking. Krishna is mentioning here about the qualities and who you worship in your life. So here Krishna is saying those who worship the devas, like the Indras, the Saraswatis, the Ganeshas, the various different Dhanvantari, or various different devas, for example, or for example Kuvera. These devotees, they get those devas in their future life. Likewise, if somebody is offering worship to the ancestors, to the Pitra Loka, they go to the ancestors. So that means Indra has a loka, right? Indra has a place. And the place where he stays is Indra Loka. So what Krishna is saying is, those who worship the demigods, there are many demigods, right? There are 33 crore demigods. Depending on who you worship, depending on who you do upasana, Krishna is saying you can go there. If you are praying to Indra, you may go to Indra Loka. If you offer your prayers to some other demigods, you may go to his Loka. And those who worship ancestors, they go to the Pitraloka, that means the place where our ancestors are, who, after they pass away from this universe. So likewise, those who worship ghosts and spirits, uh, they go to those ghostly and planets. So as you can see, these three things, what Krishna is saying, has an element of selfishness attached to it. So when we worship demigods, we want Indra to give rain, or whether we want Mother Saraswati to give us, the knowledge in music, knowledge in literature. And likewise, there are other demigods whom we ask for health. There are other demigods who ask for water. There are other demigods who ask for wind, the Vayu, the Varunas. So this is done for a very selfish reason. As you can see, I want something, I go to the doorsteps, and they offer me. So when we do those prayers, do those upasanas, do those worships, what Krishna is saying is, you can transcend there, you can go there. But as you know, this law of karma goes by your pious credits. So after you enjoy, so say for example, you have, $20, and you enjoy it by buying a cake or buying something you want to eat. Then after you spend, you do not have the money, so you basically come back to zero. Likewise, you have some pious credits, you enjoy. Then when the enjoyment is done, when you have used up your pious credits, then you fall down. So likewise, these demigods are exactly like that. So you get benefit. It's not that by offering prayers to Lord Ganesha or Mother Saraswati or Lord Indra, you will not get benefit. There are benefits, but these benefits are temporary, because once you're done, you have to come down. So you go to Pitraloka and you serve them, then you come down. Likewise, when you go and offer, there are a lot of black magic in the cross streets of Edison. You'll see black magic healer. What they're going to do is, they will invoke something, and that invocation of something might either get good to you, or bad, or bad to your enemies. So there are a lot of black magic which is happening, which actually there are infighting within the families, and there is somebody who will do black magic and somebody he or she does dislikes, and this has a very selfish attitude to it. Because so whenever, as you can see, these three activities, whether it's demigods or ancestors or this black magic ghosts, if they are not pleased, they will create problems. If Indra, during the time of Govardhan, lifting of Govardhan's pastime, he was not happy, because the Govardhan Vasis, they did not offer Indra the offerings. They offered to Govardhan, who is giving them plants, the minerals, and everything over a period of time. So Indra became very angry, and Indra sent Samvartaka clouds, and it kind of totally flooded the entire Vrindavan and Govardhan area, and Krishna had to come and rescue them by lifting the Govardhan in his left pinky. So these demigods, when you offer your prayers, you get some benefit, but this benefits, as we discussed, is temporary. That's the first thing. And it has negative consequences. They can get angry, because they are not Sachit Anand potency personalities. They can get angry. Anger is a manifestation which is just not among all of us. It is also with the demigods. It's also with the ancestors. It's also, so first thing is, it's temporary, and second thing is, it's a selfish way of negotiating some benefits, and the third thing is, it has negative consequences if the worship doesn't go well. That's the reason why they'll do worship, and then they realize I might have committed something. They will try to do another worship to undo it. So there are consequences of doing these things. But what Krishna is saying finally is, those who worship Krishna, those who worship me, will live with Krishna. So in Krishna Loka, as it is spiritual, with the material things, Krishna is Param Purusha. He is Purushottam. He is Param Purusha. He is Parameshwar. So he is the ultimate. Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha. Because Krishna is the ultimate, then what Krishna is saying is these tributaries eventually come to me. Whenever you offer any prayers or offer any offerings, give anything, it eventually comes to me. These ancestors eventually take that offering and offer it to Krishna. Likewise, the demigods, they take all of these when they are in sane mind, they offer it to Krishna. And likewise, the ghosts and spirits, because Krishna says, Aham sarvascha prabhavo. Everything comes from me. And I am Aham bija pradapita. He is the seed giving father of all living beings. So here we're discussing the art of worship as to who you should worship. And there are prescription in Bhagavad Gita very clearly about who we should worship. It's Krishna is saying whenever you offer anything to Lord Ganesha, for example, or Mother Saraswati, for example, or Lord Indra, for example, eventually that offering will come to me. So there is no reason to go through a indirect channel. So, so in Bhagavad Gita, uh, like say for example, you have a, a hero in your mind. A hero in your mind is a cricketer or a musician, and you want, or a dancer. Like so whenever you try to imitate the dancer, you often, whenever you are in a subconscious mind and you are alone, you try to dance in a step. Likewise, when you're following a singer and that song has attracted you, you would like to sing like him. So some of these traits of following someone, the hero worshipping, what we call, is actually rubbing on you. So Krishna is saying, if you are deeply involved in following somebody, then you will become that somebody. People who follow the singers eventually end up becoming good singers. The people who follow good dancers and they try to dance like the big dancers, they become big dancers. So what Krishna is saying is nothing out of the ordinary. Krishna is saying very simply that if you offer your worship, you'll go to them. Whoever you offer your worship, you'll go to them. So you have a choice. The purpose of this discussion is to discuss about the choice. We have a choice, but what we would like to transcend, we have a material way where we use up our prior credits and eventually we fall down. And on the contrary, we go to a spiritual world which is absolute, which is not material. In an absolute sense, if you take -3 and make an absolute function on it, it is 3. When you take 3, you make an absolute function on it, it becomes 3. So absolute on -3 and absolute on 3 are the same. So Krishna is an absolute platform, as we have discussed. So whoever offers worship to Krishna and the forms of Krishna, for example, Lord Jagannath, he is none other than Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is the he is the Yuga avatar who came to this country, come to this world to spread the holy name. So here, and that trait of rubbing is very common, and Krishna is also saying in another verse, yam yam vyapi smaran bhavam tyajyate ante kalevaram. Ante kalevaram means at the time of death, at the time of your final thing, if you do smaran bhavam, if you do smaran, tam tam evati konteya, yam yam. So he's kind of putting stress. Yam yam, he's saying this twice. Tam tam, he's putting a stress again. He's saying sadatat bhava bhavita. That means whatever state of being one remembers one when he quits the body, O son of Kunti, Arjuna, that state he will attain without fail. So Krishna is saying, at the time of death, if you can remember me, because at the time of death, there'll be so many scorpions like biting, there'll be so much of pain that it will be difficult for you to remember me. So at that time, if you remember me, in spite of all the pains, you will come to me. So likewise, what is worship? Worship is all about meditating on the form of the Lord, offering some love in the form of bhoga to the Lord. So the art of worship is being discussed here, where most of the time we don't know who we should worship. So we tend to put all the pictures on the altar or all the deities on the altar because we're not very sure who we should be worshiping. And that is the cause of some of our traits. So if you have everything, your focus is lost, whether you're offering here or there or there. So the art of worship is very clear. Whenever you have Lord Jagannath on the altar, there is no need to have anybody else, because he is the Lord of the universe. Because whatever you offer to him, he is so universal, he is Krishna himself, that you do not have to offer anywhere else. It's very clear in this beautiful verse what we're discussing, 9.25. And then Krishna, through his devotees, in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila, says, Ekale Ishwara Krishna, Are Sava Vritya, Yare Ache Nachai, Se Chaita Kare Nritya. He's saying, Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita is saying, Lord Krishna alone is the supreme controller, and all others are his servants. Lord Ganesha, Mother Saraswati, Lord Indra, we discussed, they're all offering prayers to Lord Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We went through the discussion of Karnadakshay Vishnu, Garvadakshay Vishnu, and Kiradakshay Vishnu, and how from Garvadakshay Vishnu's navel Brahma comes, and from Brahma Lord Shiva comes, and how they create, how Brahmaji creates this world under the direction of Lord Krishna, who is the Param Purusha, and they dance as he makes them to do so. So everybody else other than Krishna is actually dancing to his tune. And here Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that. Why is he saying that? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotee, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita Adilila 5.142 is saying that. Why is he saying that? Because when Krishna left, I mean, Krishna didn't leave in that sense in the Dwapar Yuga, and actually whenever it was reiterated, because Bhagavad Gita was spoken thousands and millions of years ago. But Krishna mentioned that surrender unto me, Mamekam Saranam Raja. But how to surrender, he didn't tell. He said, surrender unto me. But in order to surrender, you need to follow some steps. And that steps, for that, Krishna had to come again in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago to exactly say about why you should surrender and how we should surrender. So, um, so actually, if you think about it, about your times, about the amount of time you have to yourself, actually, you may be doing some worship in the form of doing puja, doing some cooking, doing some shringar. But if you see the amount of time you're doing worship, 95% of the time or the quality of that worship is in chanting. So that's why Srila Prabhupada at the end of his purport goes on to say that the Krishna conscious movement is therefore distributing sublime information to the entire human society to the effect that by simply chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one can become perfect in life and go back to Godhead. That is, he's saying that because he knows that 90% of the worship is about meditating or chanting the name of the Lord, so that at the time of Antakale, or at the time, all the time, in terms of our focus, our attention, we are giving to chanting. And that's why Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, Kritaya Dhritaya Vishnum Tetayam Yajatoimake Dwapare Paricharyam Kalau Tad Harikirtana. So that means in Satya Yuga, it was meditation. It was meditating. Kritaya Dhayato Vishnu. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva writes, during Satya Yuga, it is Dhayato Vishnu. That means you're basically meditating on it. So it was all about meditation, because there's no sound, everything was pure. You're meditating, when you are meditating, you're seeing the lotus feet of Vishnu, and you're meditating, because it was Satya Yuga, people used to live long, there was to be a lot of concentration and focus. Tretayam Yajatomaki. That means in Treta Yuga, there was sacrifices, because there was some dilution from Satya Yuga to Treta Yuga. People were not in the best shape as in Satya Yuga. So at the time they're performing sacrifices, but still great in comparison to Dwapar Yuga. Dwapar Yuga, Dwapare Paricharyam. That means Paricharyam. That means Dwapar Yuga, they're serving the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by doing archana, by by doing some form of deity worship. But it became so deteriorated in this age of quarrel and hypocrisy we are in now. Kalautat dhari kirtana. Srimad Bhagavatam is saying that. Why is chanting so important? It's because we are in a very impurity oriented society where we can only, we are so impure that we cannot recite the words properly. We cannot wake up at the right time. We cannot do the meditational practices. There are meditational techniques people are doing, but they all have fault in them because it is so difficult to meditate when there is a lot of noise outside, when your family is calling you. And at the time, it says in Srimad Bhagavatam, Kalautat Dhari Kirtana. So what Srila Prabhupada is saying, where he went out to spread the holy name around the United States and then to the entire world, and what he took from his guru and eventually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying in 500 years ago about chanting the holy name is all about this verse. When you think about it, is actually the lotus feet meditation, the offering of archana or meditation is not possible in Kali Yuga. The only thing, which suppose you have fever, you cannot take the medicine for uh, for for asthma when you have fever. When you have asthma, you cannot take medicine for fever, because for the right disease you need to have the right meditation. Likewise, in the right time, Satya Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, you need to have the right medication. And likewise for Kali, for the age of Kali, the medication is the chanting of Harinam. Kalautat Harikirtana. That means this is the only way you can worship in this world. So 95% of our worship is actually chanting. If you think about it, you think about so many nice things you are doing, you're offering for the Lord, you're doing worship, you're doing this nice, chanting. But those chanting is limited to probably 1 or 2 hours you do on a weekly basis. But that doesn't mean when you are not doing that, that doesn't mean you are not worshiping. The worship, when you are basically chanting, you are offering a worship. And that is where Krishna is saying, whenever you are worshiping, you worship me so that you can come to me. Yeah, and you do not have to go somewhere else where you have a selfish attitude, where it is temporary and it can go wrong as well. You can do Indra Puja. Indra will give you rain. Sometimes he gives so much of rain that there is floods everywhere. That's why we see Fani and all this, hurricanes or or Sandy in New Jersey and things like that. So it's very important that we focus our attention as to who we should worship. So Krishna in this verse, Krishna's every verse, as you can see, there is an art to something. And this verse is about art of worship, as to who we should worship. So we can go on and on, and we can discuss, but I would like to end here, like discuss a little bit about this verse and how you all are doing, and and then we can wind up with so many up for the announcement, and then we can end. With that, I'd like to look for your comments, your reflections on this verse. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. So any comments or questions, Prabhuji or Mataji?
So just wanted to add, Prabhuji, one thing. Uh, I mean, there is a in ISKCON Desiratory TV. So there is one Mataji comes. I think Namita Mataji or someone. So she gives a lot of. I mean, she knows it. She is a healer, pranic healer, or something called that before she came to Krishna consciousness. She was telling that one day I was watching. She mentioned that uh, there are there are some people who do the black magic. Even some of the big gurus also, they are being impacted with this, though not completely. But what she was saying, whoever does the black magic, uh, that person gets back that negative karma he gets at any cost. So that is written. So whether it is for good or bad, so there is always a negative reaction to that.
Exactly. So this black magic Prabhuji touched on. So these are all momentary. For example, this Mataji who did black magic or who was from that profession before, so they can induce that bad thing on somebody else based on some tricks they end up doing. But what will happen, as Prabhuji mentioned, every action has a equal and opposite reaction. At a later point in time, this can bite the person. And that's the
Yeah.
reason why never ever try to do bad to others. When you try to do bad to others, it's going to bite you bigger and in a more troublesome way. So these are all temporary, as we discussed, and they can also go wrong sometimes. So sometimes when as you can see, Brahmasur, he was given the boon that from Lord Shiva, that whenever he puts the hand on the tip of the head, and then that person demolishes, gets Bhasma. And the first production implementation Bhasmasur wanted to do was to put his
Yeah.
hand on Lord Shiva,
Shiva, Lord
and
Shiva.
Lord Shiva had to run. So when these things can go wrong with such individuals, then believing this black magic and all this has consequences. So thank you for sharing, Prabhuji. Any other comments or reflections?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam Guru Srila Prabhupada. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful discourse on this. Nothing new, Prabhuji. Just wanted to share the same reflections. I'm just comparing between the two, the three aspects and the final aspect, right? As in the shloka we had, Pitralokas are demigods, are black, right? So those three, what I want to, I want to highlight is, Prabhuji, is that the three are still on the material plane, Prabhuji. They are like the Brahmaloka, the Pitraloka, or the ghosts. They all dwell in the material plane. Only Krishna Loka is where the spiritual plane is. Point number one. Point number two is related to the point one in a way where Krishna says that the um, the final sanction is given by me, as you have mentioned, Prabhuji. Final sanction, the offering also goes to Krishna, and the final sanction of the poon is also done by Krishna, because as in the material world, it goes from boss to boss's boss, right? So similarly, the final sanction comes from, though we interact with demigods, but the final sanction is given by Krishna. The effect of that is, Prabhuji, that there is a reaction there. Say, as we have told, either from our side is a selfish reason, but in the end, there is a consequence to it, either good, bad, right? Only when we do the Krishna service, devotional service, ahaituki service, then there is no consequence attached to it, Prabhu. And that takes us to basically again the Krishna Loka, right? Goloka finally. And also, Prabhuji, the third point which I want to tell is on the same, the Srimad Bhagavatam is, the Sri Bhagavad Gita tells how to live, Prabhuji, how we should live. Whereas Srimad Bhagavatam tells that how to die, Prabhuji. Because you quoted that verse, right? That whatever you think at the time of the death. So how to practice that? Krishna has given that in the form of, because Krishna and Srimad Bhagavatam are not different, Prabhuji. they are the same. It's just the when Kali Yuga was when Krishna was leaving, so the everything for the how to conduct the life, how to conduct the yuga was, all the doctrines went to Srimad Bhagavatam, which is nothing but a collection of historical facts of the various incidents. It's like case studies, what we call in management, right? These are various case studies which will reveal Krishna to the people. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the for the Kali Yuga, and as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, okay, since we cannot read and we may not be literate in the spiritual subject, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and gave a very much more easier way, which is Sankirtan Yajna, right? Which everybody can do, as Prabhupada always points. There is no cost to it. There is no cost from our side. So the third point, which is that that also does not have any effect, Prabhuji. So finally, whatever we do, Krishna has ensured, he designed this process such a way that there is no effect of it, and there is it's a point of no return, what we call, right? It's a point of no return. That's what he's trying to tell, that if you want to come, this is the way. If you want to worship these other three process, same points, Prabhuji, just reflections.
Yes.
Thank you.
So
Hare
building
Krishna.
on, thank you so much, Roji. You really touched on so many things. So, so expanding a little bit on what Prabhuji said. So as Bhagavad Gita is actually like a framework, as Prabhuji put it in a way. So there is a guideline that, hey, if you do demigod worship, you will be with them. So how that aspect is being revealed in a case study or as an example is in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bhagavad Gita is actually like a guidebook or like a framework. Okay, these are the things if you do this, there are this, the outcome is this. If you do this, the outcome is. But what you should do, or the example or the inspiration through which you would end up doing, is being revealed in other scriptures, and Srimad Bhagavatam is the prime, is Amala Purana, is spotless, and it is the topmost Purana of all the Puranas. And there, uh, and taking a leaf from there, or taking extension of that, Chaitanya Charitamrita is even more detail as to how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited those qualities, those case studies in Jagannath Puri or in South India, wherever so it is actually a step-by-step revelation of spiritualism. And there are a lot of, whenever you do anything good, like you do something good, if you do it with no intention, there are actually no side effects, as Prabhuji said. This first three here, it has side effects. There are side effects, or there are allergic reactions. But when you worship Krishna, there is no side effects, because there is no material linkage. There is no give and take. That's the reason why there is nothing to worry about. Like whenever you do something good, you go and do something good, and you do not expect in return, it actually ends there. You feel blessed, and the person is happy. So there is no side effects. But if you end up taking some medication, it has side effects. If you end up taking a lot of sugar, it has side effects. So there is that little difference between, there is that difference between material and spiritual. So the first three are material, as Prabhuji mentioned, and the last one is spiritual. Thank you, Prabhuji. Any
Just
other
to
comments?
add
Yes.
it, Prabhuji. So, I mean, in my opinion, those three, the top 3 points, I mean, it has not been sanctioned, we can say that, because anyway, so Krishna somewhere says that you have the partial freedom. So, but if you go towards that, obviously there will be a reaction kind of thing. So, and the last one is something that that is kind of, a sanctioned one from from the Lord. So that is the way probably to interpret.
Yes, Roger, that's true. These are all not sanctioned in the true Vedic injunctions. Thanks, Roger. Any other comments
And
or
also
thoughts?
Prabhuji, on that, Srimad Bhagavatam is Amala Purana, and it is a one point which I just came to know. I want to share, Prabhuji. It is a cream of all Vedic literatures, but Prabhuji, the point what is the cream Vyasadeva has written this Vedic literature, the cream after he has his full maturity in the revelation. So of course he's a literary incarnation of Krishna, but he wrote in a very matured stage of his consciousness, Prabhuji.
Yes.
So that because so when you write, like when you are more experienced and more, then you have a bigger picture of it. So after having it the maturity level, he wrote this Prabhuji, of course under Narada's instruction, Narada's instruction, he wrote this, but still he wrote it at a mature stage. So it's a not only why it is a cream is because it is written at a maturity level when his maturity level has reached to the highest. So similarly means his realizations have reached to the highest maturity, in the sense in the spiritual, his realizations has reached to the highest provision. That is why it is Amala Purana. Definitely it is Amal Purana because it is not with a purpose. It is a spotless, not with any selfish purpose, I meant to say. It's not so any scriptures are basically Vedic scriptures are some part of his karma kanda, but this is not karma kanda part of it.
Yes, Roger.
That is one point.
That's true. Yeah. So any other thoughts, Prabhu? Thank you so much, Bhakti Ratnakar Prabhu and Pratap Prabhu, for sharing your heart. Any other comments or reflections?
I don't have a comment, but Prabhuji, I think you would be knowing better. I want you to share, Prabhuji. So in when Bahuda Jatra gets completed, right, after the Sunaves is over, so I think not many of us would be knowing it. That's why I'm saying for you to explain. The last night before Mahaprabhu gets into, they have the Adharapana, which is kind of Mahaprabhu's prasad for the ghost and spirits to so that they can get the mukti, right? Prabhu, you
Yes,
can,
yes.
if you can provide some more information on that.
Yeah, so good point, Prabhu. So what happens actually, Krishna is actually a person, and the embodiment of that person in the truest form in this Kali Yuga is actually Lord Jagannath. So whatever a person ends up doing, he would end up doing. He would dress well, he would eat well, he would bless his devotees well, and he has a connection with the other people. So whenever he goes out on a yatra or whenever he comes back from a yatra, there are ghostly people who come to watch him. So there is Hanuman who comes in, there is Vibhishan who comes in pretty much every day, and there are ghosts who come to take darshan of the most magnificent, munificent, and most merciful Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Jagannath. So when he comes back, there is bhutas and pretas, they come, right? So there is an offering which is given to Lord Jagannath, which is called Adharapana, which is actually a drink made, and there are big, pots on which it's made, and after Lord Jagannath gets into the temple, these pots are broken outside the temple near the chariot as an offering to the bhutas and pretas who are coming here to take, so that all the bad effects or the so-called किसी का नजर लगता है ना, so
Yes.
all that negativity, all that you know vices and so-called is eliminated, and that is a personal interaction of Lord Jagannath with the bhutas and pretas, and that pastime is still enacted today. And we also do it in New Jersey. We buy the small pots, but not of the tune of Lord Jagannath's Puri. But that's what Prabhuji is explaining here, unless anybody else wants to add something.
So that is something I love it, because Mahaprabhu is, Lord Jagannath is so merciful towards everyone.
Exactly. And in trying to give his darshan, he liberates all the ghosts who come to take darshan during that times. And that's the reason why he's so merciful, that he liberates anybody and everybody who takes darshan during the most magnificent yatra, which happens once a year. All right.
Just
Any
want
other?
to add one line here. Like Jagannath Prasad is very potent. Like we hear so many shastras and everything, but in Kali Yuga, Jagannath Prasad is very powerful. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has instructed like to do Harinam and do Sankirtan and honor Prasadam. So how Jagannath is so merciful. How can he let the other planetary systems devotees like the ghosts and others whose some of the desires are incomplete? How can they be bereft of that? So for that, this Adharapana system is created so that they also can get a chance to honor Mahaprasadam. So this Panakam, this drink they prepare, is directly get to the chariot, and it is huge pots. It literally touches Jagannath's lotus mouth, and then once Jagannathji accept this was is broken and it's put on the grand road or on the top of the chariot, so that this ghosts and others, they get little bit of these offerings. It is for actually for their benefit. So this is another like merciful aspect of Lord Jagannath. Anyway, this is little bit away from the topic we discussed, but just wanted to add this line here.
Yeah, so nice points. Lord Jagannath is very merciful to anybody and everybody. That includes the bhutas, pretas who have come to take darshan. And today being your breaking of your Ekadasi fast, you would be breaking with that nirmalya. In that, the purple color bag, you get the dried Mahaprasad, rice Mahaprasad. And when you break the Ekadasi fast, you break with Jagannath Prasad in the most dried form, and it's very potent. So if there is no other comment, I just want to add one more thing, is how to go back to Krishna, how to perform the service. Krishna mentioned Mamekam Saranam Braja, but how to do it? To do that, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to come, and his appearance day is coming. His appearance day will be celebrated. We'll send the flights. But as a process of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance, what we do is we take vows to chant some rounds, chant some extra rounds. And if you're chanting one round, you can do 2 rounds, or you want to stay with 2 rounds, you can still stay, but you can get some improvement in our dose of spiritualism. So during Gaur Purnima, we do this vows where you come forward and you speak to the temple that, hey, I want to do 4 rounds, I want to do 6 rounds, or you want to do 8 rounds. There are many different levels. So on the day of Gaur Purnima, the certificates will be made for you, and you can go and take the vows in front of the lordships in the temple. So if you are chanting whatever rounds and you want to stay or you want to increase, let one of us know that you want to increase your Krishna consciousness in the form of chanting, offering some extra rounds every day to the Supreme, and then we can make certificates beforehand. So we have like 2-3 weeks to Gaur Purnima. So please share your names and how many rounds to one of us separately, so that we can prepare certificates for you by the time Gaur Purnima comes. So that's a little announcement I thought I'll make, and then we can end here. if there is no other comments or questions.
So one point I just, since the topic came, I wanted to tell the what has been told by our acharyas. The Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita. As Prabhupada always says, Chaitanya Charitamrita is like the PhD level, Prabhuji. I did not understand why it was PhD level, because if you see the content of that is easy to understand, but what I have of late realized is, Prabhuji, why it is called as PhD level, because the state of consciousness of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mind towards Krishna, that is the PhD level, Prabhuji. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in Bhagavad Gita, our consciousness for Krishna may not be that much exposed as much as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's consciousness for Krishna has been revealed in that, Prabhuji. And to reach that is what the PhD level. It's not, of course, content is PhD level, but to understand the realization of that, Prabhuji. Since this topic came, I wanted to tell that what is Chaitanya Charitamrita? Why it should be read in the end, not after we transform our consciousness from Bhagavad Gita to Bhagavatam, then our consciousness should shift to the Chaitanya Charitamrita. That is the ultimate culmination of love for Krishna.
Wonderful point, Prabhu. The state of consciousness is always important. If you read Chaitanya Charitamrita in the beginning without having Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam knowledge, you will think that this person whose Charitamrita, whose nectar is being discussed, is actually somebody who is just out of his mind. He's just jumping and running, he's crying. But in order to get to that consciousness level, to truly appreciate Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's impact on all of us, we need to come to that level. That's the reason why after you do your bachelor's, you do your master's, and after you do your master's, you are ready to accept. Otherwise, you will think that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is not what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. So the level of appreciation, like say for example, if you came to US, you never had bagel, you never could understand the value of a bagel, you didn't had the taste for it. But once you got what came up, then you realize the nutrients it needs and it has and how it will help you, then you started liking it. So likewise, in order to appreciate Chaitanya Charitamrita, you need to have some strong appreciation for Bhagavad Gita and probably a medium appreciation for Srimad Bhagavatam. Then only you can understand the mood, and then you love, and you love it so much that you will not live this little interaction Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had. So thank you for sharing that, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thanks for explaining.
So Pradeep Prabhu, Niranjan Prabhu, and Mataji, everything is all right?
Yeah,
How is everything?
everything is good. Thank you, Prabhuji, for
Thank you.
asking.
Thank you, Mataji. Okay, if there is nothing else, we will end here. Vancha kalpa taruvascha kripa sindhu vaevacha patitanam pavanevyo vaishnavevyo namo namo. Vaishnava vrinda ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hema Jagannath Prabhu ki jai.